She didn't understand that work was my only salvation. I suppose it had already become my second skin. It's a narcotic, the oblivion overwork can bring you. Arbeit macht frei. That was an obscene parody the Nazis thought up. But it is possible, Arbeit macht betäubt. What? Oh, sorry, I forgot you don't speak German. They had 1984-type slogans over the entrance to all their camps, and that was what they put over Auschwitz. Work will make you free. That slogan was a bestial parody, but work can numb you. If you stop working, even for a moment, everything inside you starts evaporating. Soon you are so shapeless you can't move at all. At least that was my fear. When I first heard about my family, I became utterly without any grounding at all. I was supposed to be preparing for my higher school certificate, the diploma we took in those days when we finished high school. The results determined your university entrance, but the exams lost the meaning they'd had for me all during the war. Every time I sat down to read, I felt as though my insides were being sucked away by a giant vacuum cleaner. In a perverse way, my cousin Mina came to my rescue. Ever since I arrived on her doorstep, she had been unsparing in her criticisms of my mother. The news of my mother's death brought not even a respectful silence, but a greater barrage. I can see now through the prism of experience that guilt drove her as much as anything. She had hated my mother, been jealous of her for so many years. She couldn't admit now that she'd been unfeeling, even cruel. She was probably grief-stricken as well, because her own mother had also perished. All that family that used to spend summers talking and swimming at Kleinsee. Well, never mind that. It's old news now. I would come home from walking the streets, walking until I was too exhausted to feel anything, to Mina. You think you're suffering? That you're the only person who was ever orphaned, left alone in a strange country? And weren't you supposed to give Victor his tea? He says he waited for over an hour for you and finally had to make it himself because you're too much a lady. Meine gnädige Dame. Mina only ever spoke German at home. She had never really mastered English, which made her furious with shame, and she curtsied to me. To get your hands dirty doing work, housework, or a real job. You're just like Lingel. I wonder how a princess like her lived as long as she did in such a setting with no one to pamper her. Did she tilt her head and bat her eyes so that the guards or other inmates gave up their bread to her? Madame Butterfly is dead. It's time you learned what real work is. A fury rose up in me greater than any I remember since. I smacked her in the mouth and screamed, "If people took care of my mother, it's because she repaid them with love. And if they don't care for you, it's because you're utterly loathsome." She stared at me for a moment, her mouth slack with shock. She recovered quickly, though, and hit me back so hard she split my lip with her big ring and then hissed, "The only reason I let a mongrel like you accept that scholarship to the comprehensive was on the understanding that you would repay my generosity by taking care of Victor, which, I might point out, you have failed utterly to do. Instead of giving him tea, you've been flaunting yourself at the pubs and dance halls, just like your mother. Max or Carl or one of those other immigrant boys is likely to give you the same present that Martin, as he liked to call himself, gave Madame Butterfly. Tomorrow morning I'm off to that precious head mistress, that Miss Skeffing you're so fond of, to tell her you can't continue your education. It's time you started pulling your weight around here." Blood pouring down my face, I ran pell-mell across London to the youth hostel where my friends lived. You know, Max and Carl and the rest of them. When they turned 16 the year before, they hadn't been able to stay in their foster homes. I begged them to find me a bed for the night. In the morning, when I knew Mina would be with her great love, the glove factory, I sneaked back for my books and my clothes. It was only 2 changes of underwear and a second dress.